Okay, so I guess I should.
This meeting is being recorded.
Got it. All right. I was just interrupted by that. Okay, so I guess I should share my screen now and bring the presentation up. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Easy. Okay. You guys might have to bear with me. I'm not a pro at this kind of stuff. So, all right. So everyone can see the presentation now, because I can only see the presentation. Like I can't see anyone else. Are we good to go?
Good to go.
All good.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah, my name is Daniel Capellaro. I'm currently 36 years old. These are two photos here. I chose these two photos at the start because I think it's what best represents me, is street football and futsal. These are the forms of football that have given me my professional experiences, playing experiences, coaching experiences, everything that has taken me around the world. So I'll get into a little introduction of my playing. I've played in 6 continents throughout various countries, and it's all been through futsal and small-sided football. So namely USA, Holland, Argentina, Spain, Brazil, Scotland, England, Poland, Tunisia, Qatar, most recently. And in Poland, I played in the UEFA Futsal Champions League, and I was the first Australian to play in the UEFA Futsal Champions League. It was the UEFA Futsal Cup at that time. And in terms of street football, I mean, there's not too much in terms of a professional scene, but there are video games that are currently on the market, or still on the market. One of them being FIFA Street, was released in 2012, and I have an unlockable character in that video game. And also in 2020, there was a game called Street Power Football that was released, and I have a character in this video game as well. This is a nice little photo here of me with Tim Cahill, the Australian connection. Big game for us tonight, so I thought I'd use that photo. First of all, with futsal and street football, the first time I played futsal, I was 12 years old. So prior to futsal, I was playing football. I found football when I was 9 years old. Basically through family, I made a trip with my family to Italy to visit relatives, and my cousin was playing in the Serie C2 for a team called Borgosesia. He was professional, went to the match, and I was hooked. I was hooked on football. So then when we came back, I signed up for my local club, and yeah, that was it really. I've played ever since. First time I seen futsal, I was 12, and it was a coach who'd come to our club that was a good friend of my team's coach, and he had 2 of these small footballs, really, really rock hard. Like there was, if you know anything about the history of futsal, the first futsals, they were like a stone, and he had a VHS tape with him as well. And I was told, watch this VHS tape. This is the reason why all the Brazilian players are so good. This is the reason why they have such good feet, such good technical qualities. And I was already very, very interested in that type of play. I wanted to be a technical player. I wanted to be known for my skills. I wanted to be as skillful as possible. So futsal and this idea of Brazilian players and everything else, kind of, I was gripped at this stage. And yeah, the VHS, so it's as it goes, in the middle of an Argentina versus Brazil match at halftime, they showed this 4-minute airing. It was a BBC, it was a show on BBC called Planet Football that was taped on VHS, and the coach was Simon Darcy Clifford. So if those of you who know about Simon Clifford, he is the founder of Brazilian soccer schools in England. He's also credited with being the first person, I believe, to take futsal from Brazil to England. So very, very influential in the futsal scene. And he was also very big on ball mastery, very, very big on one player and a ball, doing skills, unopposed practice, and a lot of the concepts that I'll start talking about a little bit later in this presentation. As of 18, I started playing futsal competitively, and I came and went for a little while. I played for my state when I was 18 years old, and I was playing football still alongside this. With street football, I first saw street football properly in probably 2004, 2003. There were the Nike adverts, the airport 98 advert. You would have seen Ronaldo, Danielson, Romario, Roberto Carlos, and then there was a Cage adverts as well, with Eric Cantona as the MC, and again the same people were in there: Ronaldinho, Danielson, and then also I found videos on YouTube. So through watching YouTube and through seeing these skills, I started practicing, and then when I realized you could upload your own skills, I started creating videos for social media, which was in 2005. So this is like way back when. This is when social media really, it wasn't anything. There was no influencers. There was no, you weren't paid for posts and things like this. It just wasn't something that was done. So I was doing it for fun, and my single ambition, as you guys can see there, was to grow awareness of my playing ability outside of my immediate community. So I was a smaller player. I was not very good in a tackle. I was not very physically big. I didn't head the ball much, and for a midfielder in Australia, that's a quality that you do require. So I did feel like I had something to give, though, or something to offer. So I thought, look, if I maybe start putting up videos of my futsal and my skills and a little bit of outdoor football as well, other opportunities might start to come my way. And that's what kicked off social media for me. With my coaching, interestingly enough, my social media led to my coaching career as well. I started when I was 18, and my introduction to coaching was through a skills DVD. So basically, I'd been putting videos up on social media, and I was coaching at a recreation center, just like 1 or 2 hours a week, for fun, basically. I was getting paid, but it's obviously not a full-time job. From there, the guy who was running that recreation center said, look, I know someone who's at Football West, which is a state governing body, which is these guys here. And he said, look, I can send your skills and we just see what happens. From there, they invited me down. I did some, like a little trial session. It was at a school holiday clinic, and then that led on to academy sessions, futsal sessions, etc. And the reason I got this opportunity is because I was very different from the other coaches. I could demonstrate highly complex skills, 1v1 moves, and as well tricks. So at the school holiday clinics, that's where it kind of married very well, because the kids were also there to be engaged and to be entertained, and it's just another way in order to make players passionate about the game and also love the ball and get them to practice things at home. Moving on, 2011, 2013, I became a community officer for the Perth Glory. This at first was a practicum that I started through university, which then turned into a part-time role and then a full-time role. This is when I started to go on, well, here I went on my licenses as well, but this is more in 2006. And then this year I went on my C license, and I did the futsal license as well. But before this, I had youth license, coaching principal certificate, skills certificate. I did these other smaller modules, if you could call them that. A futsal conference I actually did at, I'm trying to think of it. It's England's training facility. It skipped my mind, but it's where the national team trains. Paul and Tom will know this straight away. There's probably other people in this chat as well that will know straight away. I've completely lost it. And then after this role here, I had a Glory Skills program. Sorry. So within my Glory Skills program, I had 110 to 120 kids. It was 2 hours at 4 centers per week. I was also doing after school. This was an after school program. Then on the other days, I would do an academy program, and on a weekend we would have a games program as well. So this was very full on here with the Perth Glory, and it kind of was the reason why I stopped football and decided to go heavy on futsal, and then coaching. And then this gap here that you see in between 2013 and 2016 is when I started traveling playing futsal. So I had an opportunity to go play in Spain and I left the Perth Glory. And then in 2016, I had the opportunity again to remain in Europe or to come back to Australia. And this time was to Melbourne, which is on the East Coast. And I became a junior coordinator for Futsal Oz, which is a company here that is a facilitator for indoor football, indoor soccer, and futsal, right from social leagues right up to elite leagues. And my role was to go to schools during the day, deliver sessions, skill sessions, engage again young players and bring them to the centres, excite them about futsal. And then after school, I would be doing a program where it was pretty much 4 or 5 days a week where they would be doing training. And it was very simple, it was very basic. But again, I was doing all the ball mastery. I was doing a lot of 1v1, a lot of skills work with the players. And then on a Friday, they would have a big games day. That lasted until 2018. And that's when I decided, well, through social media as well, I was pushed again. I had other opportunities. I thought I'm going to do my own one-to-one, one-to-two skills school, etc. Work with academies, clubs, do events, things like this, as well as travel. So, which then leads us to some of the experiences I've had. And 2019 was the last time I traveled prior to this year. And during the lockdown, all these experiences, playing experiences, coaching experiences, I had to rethink, how am I going to keep doing what I'm doing? How am I going to, like during this moment of COVID, how can I still remain, not relevant, but remain in football, remain in futsal, coach skills. And it's kind of what drove me to see like what was the purpose of all the skills and all the experiences, and how can I pass on my knowledge, passion for the game and skills to the next generation, and also leaving a legacy. As I said before, it's like being a technical player, being a skillful player, being known as very, very good on the ball. It's something that I always wanted, even when I was young. And I think my career path has been very, very different. But yeah, it's still something that I feel very strongly about. And I think this is, by developing a philosophy for my coaching, it's something that I can do. So I started to think, how can I start to show how these skills worked for me? So instead of just putting on coaching sessions and programs and teaching young players skills, also showing how they worked for me in matches and things that I look for, and how I was able to identify when to dribble and when not to. And then more importantly, how they can work better. So I found these skills or street football, and also playing futsal, I feel like I found it very late. I also didn't learn the game tactically in terms of futsal, like properly tactically, until I was about 23, 24. So there's kids now that have this awareness of these skills, and they're 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. When I was 7, 8, 9, well, I started playing football when I was 9. Before that, I played basketball. But when I was 9, 10, 11, I was doing very, very basic, very fundamental movements. And I feel if I was doing more complex movements, my skills could have even been better, and possibly maybe lead to a different career path. But yeah, that's hypothetical. So how do I reach and engage the people who currently don't believe in ball mastery, small-sided football, futsal, and street football? So these were the two things that I wanted to do and show how it helps all players. And this was my philosophy. So I broke it right down, because as we see here, players are different types of dribblers. So not everybody associates with a Neymar, with Douglas Costa, with Danielson of latter years. Not everyone associates with that player that's going to get the ball and just run at players. Some people want to be a centre mid, fantastic. Some people want to be a left back, right back, centre back, goalkeeper, Edison, Allison. These are, for those that don't know, Edison's a goalkeeper at Man City and Allison the goalkeeper at Liverpool. Very, very good on the ball. Both Brazilian, but very good on the ball. So it's ball mastery to develop balance and coordination. Every player, in my opinion, every player needs balance and coordination. So ball mastery being the foundation and the fundamental of technical skills and proficiency. The balance and coordination promotes confidence on the ball. And when you're confident on the ball, you're more composed in pressure situations. The example I give is when you go for a test, or if you have to sing, if you have to play a musical instrument, you practice and practice and practice and practice, and then you become confident. So even in a moment where you feel pressure, you're still able to perform. And this one, I think, goes without saying. Composed players make better decisions. I think we all the people in here will know that. Players are different types of dribblers. So it's another opinion of mine. I feel that 1v1 is looked at very simply, and we're always telling players to drive, to go at defenders. It happens a lot here in Australia. If you go and watch a game on a Sunday, especially in the young, very young grassroots level, from let's say under or U6, U8, right up to U14, 15, it can get worse in the later years. There is parents, there is coaches, there is rival team parents, fans, coaches, screaming, yelling. Like, I understand it's a sport, it is competitive, people get emotional, they get passionate. But the way we decide to do 1v1 is to just drive at the player. If a defender's good, I feel like he's just going to jockey until he finds that moment. And if they're stronger than you, they're just going to step across you. So the 1v1 is to entice, which means I can bring pressure onto myself, or I can engage. So if the defense is sitting in a low block, then I need to engage, or I need to do something that's going to bring them out. So we've got players that run with the ball, that drive forwards, carry the ball. Players that shield the ball, dribble to space, keep possession, retain the ball, like a Xavi, Iniesta. Players that dribble with speed, they slalom, or a gambetta. If there's any South Americans, Argentinians in the chat, they'll know what a gambetta is. So these are like your Lionel Messi, Diego Maradona, going all the way back, if there's some English fans, John Barnes against Brazil, a long time ago. Players that dribble in front of their opponents. Now, this is where I feel the real use of ball mastery or skills can come into play. Because when we think of 1v1 like this, we're really empowering the player, and we're not making the decisions. The player is making the decisions. So am I going to dribble with speed? Am I going to run with the ball? Do I have space? Am I going to shield the ball? Do I have to turn? Do I have to twist? Do I have to keep my body in between the defender and the ball? Or can I stand the player up? Can I just keep my foot on top of the ball? Can I make moves to maybe make a yard? Because the defender in front of me might be very good. But if I can make a yard, then I can play to a forward. I can play in between lines. I can get across. I can get a shot. I think, I shouldn't say I think, I'll say I feel now, and especially in my opinion, that in football, we're seeing more and more players bending the ball around opponents, using either it's a first touch, or it could be a touch and then a step over, and then putting the ball around opponents. Not as many opponents are diving in, not as many opponents are being beaten. So this is why I feel like 1v1 has changed a lot. I've got a video here. Again, I'm not very good at this. This may be loud. I don't want this to be loud. But this is one of my futsal sessions here. So you might start to see a little bit of my session structure. Okay, so as you can see there, there's like ball mastery, there's working from unopposed to a challenge or an opposed environment, and then into a pressure situation, and then finally to a game situation. So this is how I like to put my session together. I kind of reverse, if you can say reverse engineer it. I think of what it looks like in a match first. So how are these skills going to look in a match? What are they going to be useful for? What does that look like? 11 aside, 7 aside, 9 aside, 5 aside. Then what does this look like? So that'll be the first one, the match. Then what does this look like in a 1v1, 2v2, and a match with smaller numbers? And the reason being is because the players here will get much more repetitions, much more practice, much more moments to make mistakes and then learn what works, what doesn't work, but with pressure, because the young players always love to win. I have not met a player yet that doesn't want to win. So this works a treat. What does this look like then? So the third part would be, what does this look like as a challenge? So maybe the defender can't win the ball, but there's 2 goals to either side. I've got a video to show you a little game I play with the players on this one. Maybe there's a goal to either side. Maybe I have to, get to a line. Maybe we're coming in and it's a timing where we have to do the step overs, which is from the video you saw before. So there's like a passive opponent. There's something else I have to think about, plus doing the skill. The second part, unopposed, practicing it by yourself. What does that look like? What does a skill look like now? And then how can we integrate that into the warm-up? So I start with the match and I work down to the warm-up. That's how I put my sessions together. So again, warm-up, unopposed practice, passive or opponent challenge, opposed 1v1, 2v2s, 2v1s, 3v3s. And this practice here is with the emphasis on the skills from the unopposed practice. So everything has to be relatable. So whatever I'm doing in my warm-up, it's going to come here in the unopposed practice. And then it's what we're trying to do without a opponent winning the ball or with some kind of challenge. And then I'm just trying to do it again while they're trying to win the ball. And then at the end, play free, because again, the young players love to win and they love to play games. And I think it's possibly the best place and environment to try these things. So here I've got a couple examples. I'm going to have to go out again because, guys, my tech savviness is not great. But this one here is the game that I was talking about.
So to score, I need to put my ball in between the cones. If the defender, if I'm going here and he gets his ball there first, it's blocked. I have to turn. I'll do that. That's it. Okay, I'm going to try and make the game open. Does that make sense? Go. 10.
Daniel,
Yes. Yes.
I love this one because you don't necessarily see a lot of this where, and you wrote it in there, but that lateral movement.
Yeah. So in my coming slides, there's more information about lateral movement, but in terms of what I promote, my philosophy, what I speak about, lateral movement is number one for me. The dribble happens before you pass the player, because a dribble can be successful, or a dribble can even have purpose, and I may not go past the player. So I might do something on the ball, and I know, look, there's a lot of players that cop stick for this. People call it showboating. People call it whatever else. It's unnecessary, or it's overplaying. But I feel if there's a professional, because we see professional players doing this, if we trust the player that they're making the decision for the team at the time, if you can make your players understand that it's purposeful, then there's never a wasted skill. There's never a useless skill. There's never a wasted moment. And the lateral movement is a big key factor in that, showing players that, hey, you don't have to force the ball, keep the ball. If the defender doesn't come and get the ball from you, in my opinion, you've won. So if you have the ball, the other team can't score. If the other team doesn't want to come and get the ball from you, if it's not me, if it's another player on my team, I'm giving the ball to that player.
Well,
because
that's a sign of respect. Great sign of respect when a player doesn't want to come and tackle you or come to get the ball because you have gained such respect with the ball.
Exactly. And then your team as well, like you go to another level. And I think this is how we see Manchester City, this is how we used to see Barcelona having like 85-90% possession, games like this. And look, it's not that it's a guaranteed way to win, but I feel that in terms of consistency, it's a more consistent style of football. You take possession first and then leave the risks later. There always comes a time where there's risk in football, but possession and keeping the ball, in my opinion, should be first. Look, I love Man City. I love Barcelona. I love Cruyff, Guardiola, Luis Enrique. That way of playing, that philosophy, it marries to what my ball mastery, what my skills coaching is all about. This one here, I'll go on to this video now, and then we'll move on and we'll talk a little bit more about the lateral movement. Is that cool, Paul?
Yes, excellent.
Yeah. So this one here, this was for a smaller group of players. Very similar though. You can see where this was more like I visit these guys once a year. So we also do a little 1v1 challenge at the end because the players love to see the skills and they like to also play me 1v1, which is fun. But yeah, I'll have a look. So here as well, I'm just going to stop quickly because I'm saying I can see everything in front of me and I can see the ball at my feet as well. So it's peripheral vision. So here we have the lateral movement, and then here we have peripheral vision. Now these are progressions on my sessions from taking the ball mastery skills, the next phase, and then after these phases is then when we go into 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, and then from that is the match. So there is a way to take the skill into a competitive environment, but I'll show you what I mean more. Yeah, so that there, I was identifying the blue and the yellow cones as he was throwing them up. So the idea is, can I see what's in front of me whilst also still seeing the ball? And I guess that for myself, that replicates either teammates moving or an opponent movement, and that moment as to when, okay, now I need to either shield the ball or I need to keep the ball, or I need to play. I can play a little 1-2, I can shoot, I can cross. That's what simulates that moment. And also it builds a level of autonomy. So if I can focus on something else whilst I'm doing the skills, my feet are almost moving by themselves. I don't know if that's a hard concept to grasp, but that's where I feel this practice really helps. And then this was a bit of a fun at the end. So you noticed at the end as well, I don't, unless the players force the ball, I won't take it off them. So if they actually want to use the skills and they can do a skill and they go to the side, and his finish was good too, then I'll let them finish. I'm not about to win the ball from them, because I think it's one of those things that you have to allow them to have that confidence. And especially once they see you do a move or make a nutmeg or skills, and everyone starts running around and going crazy. We have the reactions like that over here. The kids love the nutmegs. So when they see that and then they get in and they start playing and they're making moves and scoring goals as well, it kind of instills that confidence, and it instills a belief that I can go and use this now in another environment. So we'll move on. So how I design a one-to-one skills session. I have my warm-up. My warm-up is a little bit of activation. So I might do a little bit through a ladder, maybe just like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I do a bit of a warm, what is it, like dynamic flex. I think it's just a good habit to build as a young player. I didn't do that when I was younger. I had injuries as a result. So I think it's good for the young players to do that. And then I go straight into ball mastery. We do 5 skills. Each practice I do, unless the player is of a very high level and I've worked with them before, I will always try and just use 5 skills. And it's 5 single skills that you can use in a match that we've seen people using at the highest level. So I'm talking about professional footballers, not just futsal, not just street football. So I take 5 skills. We learn each skill alone. Then I start to put them together. So I'm going to do 1 and 2, 3 and 4, then try to do 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then let's put the 5 skills together. Once we put it together, we move to the lateral movement practice. So which is I'm about to move on to, and I'll show you guys. From there, I go to a peripheral vision practice, which I spoke about a little bit, and I showed the demonstration of myself doing it. Then it's a 1v1 passive pressure timing practice. So I'll be coming to defend, but I'm just standing in front of them so they understand how far away do I need to do this move from a player, and where on what kind of angle, where do I want the ball to go after. So having that kind of understanding, I think also helps players take it into the match. And then afterwards, we do a little bit of 1v1 and a little bit of fun as well. So a few more nutmegs and things like this. So here, this player, I'm going to show you guys this video. This player is at a very high level. He is now 13 years old. He's currently with Melbourne City's academy. He's a player that I work with quite regularly. You'll be able to tell from his skills. So the practice you saw previously was the lateral movement. The idea of this, I'm about to speak in the next presentation, but is about keeping your hips and your chest facing the 2 yellow cones. And if you can do that, then when your chest is up, you can also identify the cones that I've got here. I've got white and orange. He's also at this moment, he's calling them out. So that's the peripheral vision. And this player here is a young player. I'd only just started working with him at this point. With the younger players, I will develop the ball mastery combos. So we work a lot on combos because it gives them homework. They can go home and they can put 5 skills together. They also love doing the combos. They enjoy making TikToks and Instagrams, videos like this. I think it gives them like it's a positive thing because it's like, I want to make a new one. I want to add a move. I want to build a bigger combo. I promote this as well. I think it's healthy. I think it's a good thing. But I always say your parents should manage the account. So you can see me here doing the ball mastery combo with him first, and then we go into some of that passive 1v1, and he's starting to learn how to use what I call the elastico, and the second one is a Falcao. Let me just turn this down before we start because some of these volumes are like.
How old is he, Daniel?
He's 7 years old. He's 7. Yeah. Yeah, so he's 7 and he currently plays with the under 10s. I said why, and he goes, oh, because it's just too good for the under 8. But yeah, I think you should always play your age group. That's just, again, my opinion. So the lateral and peripheral practices. So the first thing is to keep the ball on the safe side of your body. So I don't know if you guys can see me in full frame, but the safe side when you're facing a defender immediately in front of you is to either your right or your left, because the ball's always in reach. It's always it's like 60-40. If you decide to do a step over and push the ball here, I still have a chance to shield the ball, turn my body into the player, as opposed if I do the step over and push it out there diagonally. Look, there's probably people in this, what can I say, this Zoom, this presentation that are listening now that already understand that, but you'll be surprised how many young players in Australia will do a step over and they'll push the ball and then it's a race. And if the player's bigger and stronger than you, they just step across you. And so therefore we lose the ball. The second part is to keep your hips and chest facing the immediate opponent. So the 2 cones here are a guide of as an opponent. If I can keep my chest and my hips facing my opponent as I move the ball, I believe that you become very difficult to press, and you also become unpredictable. So it decreases the predictability. So it's very hard to see where you're going to shift, where you're going to move, if you can move laterally. The final part is identifying the colors in peripheral vision whilst also performing the ball mastery pattern, which I spoke about before. I think it helps with the autonomy in terms of doing the skills autonomously. And in that moment of pressure in a match, I'm not going to be thinking, what am I going to do? Because I feel when we come to those moments of pressure, and especially I know I used to be like this, I would push the ball down the line, or I would use something simple. I just try and beat the players in a race without even trying to turn, trying to slow down, trying to drop a shoulder, trying to do a step over. The more complexity that a player trains at in terms of skills, the fundamentals they fall on during that moment of pressure, during the match. So if you're only training the fundamentals, or if you're training a 1v1, it's just a step over and pushing the ball, in the match, in my opinion, I feel you're going to be very hard pushed to see a player use that step over. Whereas if you're training at high complexity, the step over is the fundamental. The rolling your foot over the ball and stepping across it is a fundamental. And why these practices? This is how, during the lockdown, I actually sat down and thought, when I'm playing, what do I look for? How am I seeing passes? It's one of the things that I pride myself on is my passing, my control, and my ability to dribble, the things I can do with the ball, all the technical, those technical aspects. I shouldn't say all the technical aspects, those technical aspects. So that's why I came up with these practices. And so far I've found that they've been quite successful. I had some players that can do all the skills, but they're always very head down, which I understand because there's a point where you're learning, you do have to do that. But then afterwards, how can we bring their head up without having to look straight ahead forward? Because to play football looking straight ahead forward, you need to have time and space. When you don't have time and space, how can I stay composed? How can I still identify or have that awareness of where my teammates are and opponents are? So some peripheral and lateral examples. This is myself doing it. And then this is the young player that I said was very good that I work with, who's now 13. So I'll watch this one first. I don't know if, I'll leave the sound up. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear him actually calling out the colors. So the video is in reverse. So we learn the skills first, and then we'll learn combo first, and then go into the lateral and peripheral exercise. And here, this is myself doing it. And at the end, so you can see he's standing quite far away, but there's a better example at the end. So the player's here, and all I told him was run to your left and to your right. And I'm going to call out where you're moving, and every time you move, and I'll pass the ball to you at the end.
One, go. Left. Right, left. Right. Left. Right.
So I just use that as an example just to show him what I believe is possible and what level of mastery you can get to in terms of controlling the ball, but also being able to see the game and being aware of what's happening around you. All right, back into this. So my current projects, when I'm in Australia, I'm working 1-to-1, 1-to-2. I do small group sessions. I run a D10 Skills School futsal session, which is on a Mondays. Saturday, I do a futsal session, which is just grassroots. So basically, I'm almost like helping out the indoor center where I run this. I help them on a Saturday with their little, I shouldn't say little, with their academies. But the playing, the reason I say little is because the level of ability is entry. So the players are basically like, oh, cool, I see soccer, I want to come and play. Where should I start? Oh, I saw this futsal. It's indoors. It's not going to rain. It's not going to be too. I'm not going to get burnt in the sun. So this is a real entry level session. I actually enjoy that. It's good fun working with the kids that are just starting and just starting to find like, oh, cool, I can do this with the ball and, step over and just very simple things. But they enjoy the game all the same. I have an online ball mastery program. So there's a program that actually one of the people that's in this Zoom now, Nixon, his son has purchased, or he purchased the program for his son. His son's 7 years old. He's already doing some very complex combos, skills. I think he already had a very good level before he purchased the program, but the program also goes through the lateral and peripheral vision practices, comes with a training guide, and it has 8 ball mastery patterns. I do online Zoom sessions like this one and consultations. I do club and academy visits, as you saw one of those videos. So the club and academy visits, they're more fun. And it also depends on the number of players. So if it's a small group of players, it's very easy to do a lot of technical work. If it's a big number of players, it's more about a few skills, some unopposed practice, a little bit of passive opposed. Then we do a big 1v1, like gladiator style tournament where everyone moves around and plays everyone. And then at the end, I do like a challenge where you can play against myself. And as well as doing all this, I work alongside football's leading brands and partners. I've worked with beIN Sports, La Liga, Red Bull, most recently Qatar Foundation, World Cup 2022, Visit Qatar and Qatar Airways. So here's questions. This is Marcel Desailly. I put that one there as well because I was rapt when I met him. But this here, I'm going to show you this last video. This is a little clip that I got from my futsal. Paul said to me, he goes, Daniel, you've got to put in some of your futsal clips. You've got to show us something. Now, bear in mind, this is just pickup. But I guess skills are skills at the end of the day. And that is it. So I guess now, Paul or Tom, I'll leave it to you guys. And if anyone's got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Daniel, that was awesome, man. Really.
You're very welcome.
Really enjoyed that. I mean, for me, I always like listening to guys that I consider experts in their field. We've had people on the Coaches Collaborative talk about perception. For us in our academy, we have different themes that we talk about. One of them is technical excellence as an important theme. And I learned a lot today. I learned a lot. It reinforced in me some things I feel about the dribbling as well. We got a young guy on here, Brandon Villafano. Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm good, Coach Paul.
and Brandon's on here, and it's like Brandon is one of the most technical little players that we have out there. Unbelievably technical player, but Brandon's probably not going to run by the big fast defender all the time. So he has to have all the certain skills that you need to be really, really effective. So Brandon, what did you take out of today from the time with Daniel?
I really thought one of the most important lessons from this Zoom was the lateral movements to scan and look up to find your options.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I can add to that, buddy, if you can take the lateral movement and add that to your game, I think you'll find the best way to use your skills, and you'll also find a way where you can express yourself in the field, in the pitch.
Yes, sir.
And I'll also, buddy, you don't have to call me sir. That's that's for Paul, mate. But I will say also, I think you're very fortunate to have people like Paul and to be involved in the academy you're involved in, where you are free to do your skills, and they do love technical excellence and seeing players use these moves. I saw a few clips from probably some boys that are a little bit older than you on Twitter this week that Paul uploaded, and all the players are very, very comfortable on the ball. It's the first thing I noticed. And there's players that are standing players up, using the lateral movement. We've got players that are turning, twisting into space. We've got players that are running with the ball, so doing all those different types of dribbles. So the good news for you is you're probably going to get stronger, you're probably going to get bigger, and you're probably going to get quicker. Mm-hmm. So if you can learn to deal with those things now that the defenders have, then when you do reach that physical maturity, mate, it's just going to be another, they call it another arrow in your quill. So it's another weapon that you have as a player.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question as.
Yes.
Hey, guys. Hey, thank you, Daniel.
So how you going? No problem.
As his dad, and something that I'm trying to, we were just chatting it as you were speaking on some of these things. In order to build a kid's confidence in this and looking for clues, looking for, okay, this is a moment where I can take advantage of a 1v1 and in building confidence in the child's mind of what to look for. Is that just something that gets developed over time and repetition with the drills that you had mentioned on the meeting, the 1v1, repetitions through 1v1s, 2v2s, and then being able to translate that or integrate that into an 11v11 side game? Is that something that just comes with repetition? Or are there things that somebody at 10, 11, 12 years old can already start to look for, especially like someone who would be a smaller player?
I've always been a smaller player, so I know exactly how. It's Brandon? Sorry, yeah, Brandon.
Yes.
I know how Brandon would be feeling. My best advice, and this is why I said that the environment is so important, especially at your academy and having coaches like Paul. When you go into training, when you go into games, your moves that you enjoy doing, do them, try them. Then you're going to find out. So I said to, actually had a chat like this with Paul and with Tom before we did this Zoom. This was like a few days ago. And there's a guy called, his last name's McGuinness. I forgot his first name. That's really bad of me. But his dad, Paul McGuinness. Thank you. Paul McGuinness. But his dad played for Manchester United and also coached Manchester United. And he said one of the best things his dad ever taught him was getting close enough to the fire without getting burnt. Now, the only way to do that is to experiment, is to try your moves, is to try skills, is to see how far away you need to be back or how close you need to be before they commit. Because the other thing is, especially if against a strong player, it depends on what type of defense they're playing. Do you have players just always run at you, or sometimes do they stand back? It's a question for you.
Oh, my bad. Well, a lot of times I've just got into 11v11, so I've realized that there's more space, but in 9v9, there's definitely more pressure. But like, I'm a midfielder, so I'm kind of right in the center of a lot of pressure. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure. So I have to learn how to play fast.
Okay, so I'm sure you're aware of scanning as well.
Oh yes, Coach Paul's big on.
Yeah, no, you should be. You should be. And look, I always say that the ball mastery helps scanning as well, because if you're looking over your shoulder and you know where the pockets of space are, when the ball comes to you, you're not worrying about your touch. You know, I think you can probably feel the difference, and you know the difference as well if you have to scan it, but then you're also like waiting for the ball, and you're like, am I going to be able to control this? Am I, you know, when you get that feeling that, you know, I can scan, I know where it is, maybe I'm turning away, or if I get into those 1v1 situations, sometimes you put your foot on the ball, roll the ball back, go backwards, because a lot of players are expecting you to drive forward straight away, which it might give you space. What I'm trying to show you, or what I'm trying to explain, is find the moment where you can use your skills. And at first, it might feel awkward, or you might do it and it has no effect, or you could do it too far from the player and he just stands there. But the fact that you do it, you'll gain confidence doing it. And then the next time, you'll be able to do it faster. And you'll also recognize the moment quicker. You'll see the situation playing out. You know, do you play futsal? Do you play like 5 or 3?
Yeah,
You
one of the camps that I'm doing in the summer is actually with a futsal academy called Heart and Soul.
Okay, nice. Oh, is soul spelled SOLE?
Yes, SOLE. Yes.
They thought long and hard about that one, huh? So that's fantastic. When you go to this camp, try all your moves. And also, like, one thing I did, and I was doing this when I was like 18, 19, because I wanted to do the street football thing. I was seeing moves on YouTube, learning them during the week. And then when I went to my games and I had my friends filming, all I tried to do was that move in the game. Yeah. I know it doesn't sound great from a team perspective, but in terms of the individual development, it's unbelievable for you, because you're going to have so many chances, so many opportunities to try this skill. And then if it can work indoors, if it can work 5v5, I'm a firm believer that it's just another level of mastery before it works on grass, and it can work in 11v11.
That's right.
Does that answer your question, Dad?
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, my takeaway is it's so much about just getting in the reps.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what, if you guys have any questions, Paul has my email, grab it from him, send me an email. I'm more than happy to answer stuff and to help Brandon.
Hey, thank you so much. No, it's a great
You're
call.
welcome.
Thanks, Daniel.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Daniel, I got a couple questions. I know Randy had a quick question on like your philosophy on playing your own age group. He was wondering about that. If you want to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, my philosophy about playing your own age group, I understand that the players need challenges, but it's also a level of confidence and competence, because especially if you're a smaller player, it's good to remain in your own age group, even if you're destroying teams, because it gives you that confidence. It gives you the belief that you can do it. And that's what will be the seeded, or the most, there's bad trauma, good trauma. That will be a good trauma, because it sits there going, hey, I know I can do this. I know I can dribble. I've dribbled past 4 players before. So when I go up to the higher level, when I am older, when I'm like maybe 14, I can go 15. And then when you're 16, you can go 18. But in my personal experience, I was playing under 14s at under 12 level, and I was a late bloomer. I got beaten. So it made me tough, but I still dribbled the same way. I still did everything I did. I just copped a lot more kicks, and I cried, and I whinged, and it was a bad experience for me, and I didn't want to play up ever again. Which didn't help me when I was 16, because when I was 16, I could have played under 18s. I could have played reserves football, which at that time, my football career could have gone on. But because of my personal experiences, when I was a younger player, it made me shy away from that when maybe I was ready at that time. So that's what I feel as coaches, especially as coaches of a team. I think it's a difficult one, because I just coach one-to-one. I just coach skills, right? I'm removed from that environment. Not that I haven't been in it before, but I don't do it now. But I think it's a real difficult one to find that moment where, okay, yeah, this player is actually ready to go up. Where if you leave them maybe one more season down in their age group, even if they score 50 goals, it's like, there's ability there, and you're also breeding that the winning mentality, the understanding that I'm a good player, the intrinsic confidence. You're not going to need to get confidence from anyone else when you're playing like that. So I hope that answers that question.
So I've been kind of saying this for a little bit, but I think probably the best things, in my opinion, that any club now could potentially do for their club is to have coaches in the younger ages that really understand these skills, like almost a skills coach in these 6, 7, 8 years old. If a club was really wanted to invest in development, these experts in skills coaching, we have a number here in Houston, some really, really good technical coaches, but I'm such a firm believer in it, I mean, when do you start with it? Obviously our whole push with soccer starting at home, starting earlier, trying to reach that market of the parents is critical. But what those kids are doing with soccer starts at home is, you saw that kind of the parents encouraging their kids to play with their kids at home, but not to kick the ball, but to control the ball. That's really a big part of the soccer starts at home philosophy, and allowing the kid to be successful, not necessarily taking the ball away from the kid, right? But starting off in that, what you call that challenge, right?
Passive. Yes, challenge, passive. Yeah, exactly.
That passive challenge. I mean, all that stuff is the same thing that you're doing at kind of the next level, right? When the players are getting a little bit more out there and they've reached it. But, there's just so much value to it. Like any of these grassroots coaches, a lot of them are parents, right? And then they go into the coaches, and then you get into these environments where you've got 12 to 15 kids and you have one coach, right? But if they could kind of almost mirror the type of trainings that you're doing on a technical level with maybe 5, 10, 15 kids, right? Think of how much those kids would develop. So you brought them down to the 1v1s, the 2v2s, the unopposed training, all that type of stuff. I think is great education for grassroots coaches.
Look, I'd have to agree with you, and I never used to think of it like that. But there's a coach in Spain. He's a very, very good friend of mine as a result of this first meeting we had. So he was here in Melbourne, Victoria, and I was always I'm going to tell this little story now because it's a good one with what you're talking about. He was always visiting this facility where I was training and doing one-to-ones. Now, my one-to-one and training that I do is very different from what you would see in Australia, anywhere else. Most one-to-ones is a lot of passing, a lot of playing off rebounders, left foot, right foot, which is all good stuff. We all need this. There's a lot of scanning, using the iPads for scanning, and then a finish, a shot, insides, outsides, this kind of stuff. Whereas mine is all skills and 1v1. And he sat there and he watched my session, and I thought, oh, this guy's going to rip me, he's going to come in and say something, because I've had that happen before. And he came up to me and he said, "Who taught you to coach like this?" And I said, "Nobody." I said, "Like, this is how I see the game. This is how I play myself." And he goes, oh, you play? And I said, yeah. I said, I play futsal. So I used to play football. And he goes, oh. And he said, I like the way you coach because you have a method. And he goes, it's not like a bit of this. He called it a salad. You have a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this, you know, and then a dressing. So, and I said, oh, you know, what's your name? Blah, blah, who have you coached? And he said, you know, I've been coaching in Spain for the last 10 years. He goes, I'm UEFA pro license. He goes, I was coaching a feeder club for La Liga side. He goes, do you know these players? He goes, yeah, I coached them. And I was gobsmacked. I was blown away because I love the game tactically as well. So then we'd meet and get coffee and have lunch. Like, I think every second day for maybe 3 months, we were just doing that. And he ended up moving in with my girlfriend and I, much to his mate. But no, he's a good guy. But the one thing he said to me was, he said, the younger the player, the more skillful the coach. He said, and Spain now, as of about 1 to 2 years ago, had started with this philosophy. He said, previously, if you went to FCB Escola, if you went to like a Ciudad Deportiva, a Madrid, a Villarreal, even a Cornea in like Segunda B and stuff like this, he goes, you would see rondos, you would see passing, you would see these kinds of practices. He said, you'll still see that, but the coaches they have from like 4 years, 6 years, what they call like the Benjamin into the Alavine, I think it's infantile, right up to about 12. He said there's a lot of now 1v1, 2v2, 2v1, 1v2, so the overloads, underloads, how to use skills, how to play around opponents. He said, yeah, it's changed a lot in terms of that respect. And he said he'd seen no one doing this kind of stuff. So that's how we got talking. But very interesting because I thought,
What'd you say, Daniel? The younger the player, the more skillful the coach.
the younger the player, the more skillful the coach needs to be. Yeah. And actually the reason why I found Tom and I found the Soccer Starts at Home is because I saw this tweet about soccer's not a kicking game. And I was like, wow, this is spot on. And then I started following all this stuff. And that's how I found the Kano guys. And I found the guys here in Melbourne that follow Tom and have the same philosophy, and found the Soccer Starts at Home and everything else. And saw the photos of young Tom looking like Captain Tsubasa, you know, it's cool. So yeah, it's a nice little, the way the world goes round.
Hey, this is Nixon, Aiden's dad. Hey, Daniel.
Hey mate, how are you? You good?
Paul and Tom. Okay, so first degree, I have to say I met Tom through Instagram, and I'm a firm believer his Soccer Starts at Home. His book allowed me to transfer the knowledge and assist my son with his growth. Being a person not knowing soccer at all, just learning. This is what I realized was here in California. I believe that my son inherited. He learned his skills at home, from the videos, from the training, and playing at home. Now that he's going to these clubs, I believe the clubs are inheriting his skills, meaning that he's enjoying these soccer skills, these new moves, these ball masteries, and he's applying to the field. However, I don't call myself a joystick coach because I don't want to conflict with my son's coach's opinion and thought, because the coaches, they'll guide him. However, what I've noticed that some of these clubs that we were in, they would discourage his ball mastery. They believe that it's just more of a passing game, just pass. If you're about to be heading up with one opponent on a 1v1 or 2v1, just pass the ball out. Just play the system from the back and pull it out front. What do you do? Because my son approached me and already said, Dad, I know I can beat him. I can do something. I can do tricks. And mind you, he's already implementing ACA on a soccer field to beat his opponents, which some of these coaches believe that this is not a soccer move. It's a street move, the show-off move. What do you tell a kid that can actually do these moves? Should you say, hey, listen to your coach, or B, you know what? Do whatever you want to do. Just keep going, knowing that there may be some kind of ramification from his coach. What's your thought?
You're asking me?
I'm asking all three of you, whoever, to like, because like I said, you see how Aiden's skill is. He loves street soccer. He loves to play. He can handle it. But there's times when the coaches are saying, you know what, these moves are not practical on a field, but he's able to utilize them and do them. So, and he comes to me and telling me, what should I do, Dad? And I don't have a response.
I think it's difficult because he doesn't want to lose. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose his place in the team, and he's, from what you're telling me, is a very aware kid. Some kids are not aware of this kind of what can I say? Not political, but these kind of like tactical outlays. So kids will just go and play, but he seems very aware and he seems very understanding of what his coach wants in a game. If he's asking him to pass, I would almost say he can use his skills to keep possession of the ball. If he's not losing the ball, then I don't think they're going to have anything to say, unless they want him to move the ball faster, which then you have to ask yourself, are we looking to win or are we looking to develop players? It always comes back to this. And it's an age-old argument, basically, because Aiden's how old? 7?
7 years old.
He's 7 years old. If he was to leave this team and go to another team and find a place where he can play, I don't think it's me personally. I don't believe that it doesn't matter where he is. It's going to impact his career at all. Like, he's 7 years old. So really, all of those 7-year-old players, whilst they need a game awareness, the only game awareness should be, we're scoring in that goal today. And then apart from that, you know, yes, okay, you've got players and we do need to play as a team. We do pass. But if a player is dribbling and trying to do things, by stopping him, you're stopping their development. You're stopping that single player's development. So the team's development does not matter, because those kids could grow to 10 years old and go, oh, you know what? I like baseball. I like football. I like hockey. Okay, so now they're going to play those sports. So what's happened to that team? Whereas Aiden may play football all the way through till he's 21, 22, after college, MLS, something else. And he's been told not to dribble. He's been told not to stop doing what he loves doing. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So I think as a parent, look, I'm not a parent. I don't have a child. But you would need to make a decision yourself, you know, and kind of almost back Aiden, I suppose, support him in his own choice, because at the end of the day, he's still playing football for fun. For him, it's a game. It's literally like playing a video game.
Agree. Thank you so much. That's why we've been hopping around from different club to different club to find an environment that fits his needs. And we were reached out and they said, we love his ball master skills. And we, like I said, we had a trial this Saturday, but they loved it. They encouraged it. But I was like so surprised when I hear these different organizations saying, we believe in ball mastery, but I don't see it. I'm like, I just see just passing the ball, kicking the ball. It's about athleticism, speed, and strength, but I never saw these ball. And that's why, like I said, we searched around, we found an organization, and now, like, okay, there's another organization out there who, like I said, let me rephrase, I don't want to get involved because I'm not a soccer person. He's the coach, I'm just a parent, and I just got my son. But to your point, thank you very much, and I agree. We have to find a different organization that fits the bill for my son's ability to play on the field, so, and keeps the joy. So yes.
Paul, sorry, just 1 minute. I wanna something possible. Hey, Daniel, my name is Isaac. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. It reminds of myself 20, 30 years back when I start. I really love your passion and also the strategical presentation, how you develop the exercises from simple to complex. Thank you, was wonderful. I'm a strong believer that what you are doing, you're right. I've been professional coach for 30 years, and you know the results are the most important in soccer. Nowadays, also at the academy level, we talk winning, losing, But again, and to all the participants, you talk about ball mastering, about skills. From my view, those skills or ball mastering, and also for that gentleman, Mr. Nixon, that represents the liquid gold of soccer. It's up to the coaches, to the environment, to make from this liquid gold a beautiful jewelry. Unfortunately, many of young and talented liquid gold in the world, they stay in the status. They disappear. They don't make it to the professional world because the coaches, as Mr. Nixon, yes, let's go from build up from the back, but they cannot make 2 passes in a row. Or playing philosophy, kick and run, and so and so. And I want to say thank you, and also to encouraging you to believe in what you are doing, because you're right. I've been through the last 30 years, even I think we have a lot of friends in common. I don't want to talk about it, but thank you again. Just wanted to say thank you again. And also to the other parents that mentioned, confidence, how we can build up the confidence. It's easy. Success build confidence. And also the confidence creates success. In 1v1, you make more successful the kids to be. You arrange a session that I want him to be successful. Then I invite a defender that is weaker. The success, we need to take in consideration the ratio of winning and losing the duels. But again, thank you again. Thank you, Paul. And very, very happy to see you. May God bless you, Daniel. And I wish you that you will join the professional world very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a wrap. Thank you.
No, I'm not used with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. Well, we got a couple minutes left. If there's any questions or anything like that, or any comments. Man, I really enjoyed that, Daniel. That presentation.
You're very welcome.
So
thank you so much for the platform, honestly, because it's something that I feel very, very passionate about. And look, Australia has a very important World Cup qualifying match this evening. And the reason I come with this philosophy as well, in terms of leaving a legacy, is I would love Australia to develop a Neymar, a Douglas Costa, a Rivaldo, a Ronaldinho, a Romario, a Rivellino, a player like that. I think we're getting close, but we haven't seen that player yet. Like we've had a Harry Kewell, we've had even Daniel Arzani very recently. And I can't name all the players, and I'm probably missing some. But if we would develop a player like that at the world-class level, like the most expensive players in the world, then I'd feel like some of my work has paid off.
Gareth, I see you on there. Any words from you, Gareth, on the presentation or anything? I always like to hear from Gareth.
No, I appreciate it, Paul. I thought it was great, Daniel, and a message for a lot of people to hear, and the importance of ball mastery for players. And Braden's a great example of that, and we get to watch him play all the time. We get to watch him play this weekend, and his ability he already understands how to use lateral movement, just being more consistent with it. But it's really important for people to hear it, and I especially appreciate the value you're putting in their ability to develop individuals within the framework of a team, instead of focusing on the outcome of the result. And there's no way to measure development from the outcome of the result. The only way to measure development is through individual development within it that's measurable. And that's the message that I got out of today. So I appreciate, Daniel. It was great to visit with you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Ty, I see you're on there. I think Ty Beasley's on there. Ty, are you there? I think he's coming on.
Yes.
What do you think, Ty? Ty is an excellent technical coach here in Houston. Does some
Okay,
really
cool.
great work. So I'm glad that you were able to jump on today, Ty.
Yeah, I actually love the presentation. I mean, so much of what Daniel was saying, I agree with. I don't think it's taught enough. I think one of the biggest takeaways is that he spoke about the type of dribbles, because we hear a lot from the sidelines, stop dribbling, and him breaking down. Are we dribbling to find a pass? Are we dribbling to break pressure? It's not always about going past players, and I think that's an important message to say, that every player needs to be able to master the ball and maintain possession at times, take players on, find space. There's just all different types of dribbling. And I think the biggest thing about development here in the United States, that I think the biggest problem is that we're so outcome driven. So whether it's the outcome of the game, winning that game, or the outcome of the moment, it's not, hey, that was the right time to dribble. It just didn't work out. That was the right time. You were trying to find space. I saw what you were trying to do there. That was the right thing. No, most of the message from, I think, coaching here when I'm watching games now that I'm not a team coach is it didn't work, so it was wrong. And if it does work, then there's nothing said. Instead of the message being, hey, that was the right decision. You just, it didn't work out. Like, go again. Have a go again. And I think Daniel said it perfect. Ultimately, it's the development of the individual. So how many players are we getting to play at the next level versus how many games are we winning? And I think when you focus on that message, how many players from our club are making it to the national level, how many players from our club are making it to professional level, then it does become about the individual development within the context of the team. But I think that's kind of the most important way that we should be looking at as coaches kind of working together, whether we're technical or team coaches.
I think it's fantastic that you say that there, like how it's outcome driven. It's very much the same case here in Australia, and the outcome being generally the game, the result. We have a lot of focus here on, well, I'm not going to learn that because I don't see that being done by pro players. But the pro players, like when you look at the ones that are not so flary, can we say, on the ball, they can do all the moves. They have the motor skills, they have the balance, they have the coordination. Just because they don't use it in the match doesn't mean that they don't have it, doesn't mean that they can't use it. And I think sometimes we see these players use it in a moment, and then everyone's like, oh, wow, did you see that skill? Did you see this? That's how you play. That's simple. That's this, that. And so then it grabs all the plaudits, where if someone like Neymar starts to do what he's doing, I think Neymar is the most dangerous player in the world. In my opinion, he's the best player in the world because he can make the game stop. Like he can just hold the ball, and he allows time for his team to get into position, to move, to do whatever they need to do. He can even relieve pressure. So if PSG are under pressure and Neymar gets the ball, they're no longer under pressure. Like he can hold it, he can break that moment in the game. And that outcome-driven coaching that you were talking about, you can often play however you like. Keep the ball, don't keep the ball, long ball, play out from the back. Even if you play well in football, you can still lose. So I don't understand why people are so focused upon the result, especially in development, especially in the developmental phase of football, where the best team on the day can still lose. But that's also the beauty of football. So it's I think it's a great thing that you say about the outcomes.
Hey, Paul, if I can.
Of course.
Daniel, fantastic presentation. I thought it's extraordinary. Earlier in your presentation, you say part of your goal is to convince people that this is the right way to go, which is extraordinary. I think the only people that you would have to convince are people who haven't played the game at a high level themselves, because this is the right way to go. And what I like to tell the groups that I work with is the fastest way for your team to be better is if everyone on your team were better.
Yeah.
It just kind of fits. I mean, the best way for your team to be better is if everyone on your team were better. So I thought it was terrific.
I think you're exactly right. But maybe the other side of that is especially when we have teams, and especially young players. I mean, you see it at a professional level, the abilities of the 11 are always varied. There's always someone who's a little bit better and a little bit less in certain circumstances. So if your focus is just to win, then you don't want those players that you deem a little bit less likely to come out on top in a 1v1 or a 1v2, or when they touch the ball or hold the ball for too long. The likelihood of allowing, or a coach allowing a player to do those things and play freely, I find is less. I mean, that happens a lot here in Australia, because the mentality is simply to, play forwards all the time. If you can play forwards, you're going to play forwards, and very, very linear, very direct, where I feel if you can keep the ball, if your team's keeping the ball, you're going to have more of it, more opportunities, more chances created, more possession, more of everything, and the other team can't play. They need the ball in order to play. So that idea that every individual gets better, I think takes longer than having that direct approach. And I think that's where some coaching philosophies fall over, because they don't feel they have the time, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
Because it is outcome driven, people want to work on the things in their training that will produce the outcome. When I think the two challenges we have, and you solve one of them, is to become skilled in the sport, most of your time has to be away from the team. There's just not enough time. But then we also have to let coaches know that the amount of time that you spend at practice, particularly the younger you are, the more it should be dedicated to the individual development of the player. With that same premise, that your team is better if everyone on your team was a better player, even before you do the first tactical session.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree totally.
So anyway, good luck with everything that you're doing. I think it's absolutely spot on. And I think with what Tom is doing, this is just the two go hand in hand.
Thank you.
Well, unless there's anything else from anybody, any comments or questions, Daniel, thanks again, man. That was absolutely outstanding. This will be recorded. This is recorded, so we'll put it up on the Partners in Development site at the Dynamo Academy YouTube page, and you can share it with your coaches. We'll get that out there. But I think it's a must watch for any coach, parent. So Daniel, thank you. I know it's super late back there, so you and Tom's probably he's going to be watching the game as well from Tokyo. But thank you so much, man. It was incredible.
No, all good. You're very, very welcome. And again, thank you for giving me the platform.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
You got
Have a
it.
good day,
See you guys
guys.
later.
Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you
guys.
so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.